Well, today we're going to try to we're going to try to get rid of the anxiety, and we're going to have fun with funnels. I tried to get funnel cake for dessert. It didn't work out, so just if you can pretend that was the case, maybe next time. So just a clarification, we are not strategic communications, though we try to help you communicate more strategically. Strategic communications help sets the policies and the guidelines and procedures. If there's something that goes drastically wrong, don't call me, call Strategic Communications. They have great resources, and if you haven't visited communications.uci.edu, I suggest you do that. One of the things that we worked together with was to create an online social media directory. And not everybody's there, but if you're not there, it's a good excuse to reach out to Laura and get on there. But it's a matrix of all the different major programs on campus and where they are on social media. It can get confusing if you're just searching, so that's one great resource. They've got media templates, they've got everything from press release templates to best practices, and they still don't have a definite line on where everyone stands with LinkedIn, which is a great thing because it still means it's this open opportunity for you to explore and maybe ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And really, at the end of the day, in new ways of marketing, if you're not pushing the limits, you're probably not getting the click-throughs that you are wanting. So if you want to reach out to Laura, there's her information. Everyone will have access to this PowerPoint slide when you give the feedback survey. That's the little carrot to do that. We've gotten great feedback, and every time we try to incorporate it. How many people are not on the secret, private Facebook group for StratCom? Okay. So one of the efforts of centralizing communication is creating a secret Facebook page. So if you're not connected, just email her and say, hey, I'd like to get connected. And if you're on Facebook, it's a place for you to basically post something that others can see in a centralized spot. An idea of a larger engagement group, which we've talked about here before, to help centralize stuff that you want some support from. We are UCI Media and OVPTL Communications. What does OVPTL stand for? Part of our task is to help people understand that, so I'm glad that we've done our job. It's not a short name, but a lot of amazing stuff. Under the vision of Michael Denon, it's a new office, really with a focus on teaching and learning, supporting not only the student success, but on the faculty and administrative side. So there's a lot of great stuff going on with there. We do video animation drone footage with these amazing film crew back here. If you have an extra hand or two, give them a round of applause. They're always the magic behind the scenes. They make me look good. And we do graphic design, website, social media services, and support for those under the OVPTL. But if you still want help and you're outside of the OVPTL, just send me an email, VPTL, okay? Okay, and if you'd like to follow us, we try to lead by example. We're on all these platforms, we're active, and it's a testing ground for us. And I'd suggest to subscribe to Michael Denon's YouTube channel. How many people have seen his most recent TEDx talk? Okay, everybody who didn't, you might feel this need to watch it, and you have a chance to do that after this. Resources. These workshops are professionally filmed, and they're professionally edited, and we put a teaser video so you can share it with your friends if they want to be interested, and a full-length video that's fully produced. So if you get something out of this, and there's a new employee, or you just want to revisit it, this is a great resource. And we have made some training videos that we're working on maybe doing some more, which are short, fun, animated things to get people going. All right, so that's the housekeeping. And each social media lunch and brunch, we have a sponsor, people that pay for this wonderful food and pay essentially for your attention to have them be on your radar. So I'd like to bring up the two lovely ladies that are the backbone of the summer session program. This is Florentina and Lindsay. Yay! So I want them to just kind of explain who they are, what they do, and as far as using social media, I think that summer session is really one of the programs on campus that is just throttling. They're coming up with fun stuff. It's summer, so they have a lot of chance to experiment. And so this is a great opportunity to highlight some of their best practices, but also let you know who they are so you can help support summer session throughout the year.
Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay and I'm the marketing coordinator at Summer Session. I coordinate all of our marketing materials and ideas to make sure that everybody on campus and in the community knows about our courses and programs. We have over 12,000 students come all around Irvine or beyond to take our courses, and we also have a lot of programs for incoming freshmen, transfers, non-matriculate international students, and also for current UCI students. Thank you so much for coming here today, and we're happy to have you here to learn about funnels with Ryan.
Yay! And before you go, oh yes, sir.
Question, so how many of the summer session students are UCI already enrolled students, and how many are outside students that want to take classes or are incoming students?
I would say 70 to 80. I don't have the exact numbers, but based on what I've seen, maybe 70 to 80 are UCI students, and then the rest of them are from different UCs, because students from UCLA or UCR pay the same fees here because we charge people based on whether they're a UC student or not. And then we also have students come from non-UC schools and high schools as well.
So if somebody knows somebody whose family has a kid that's up at UC Riverside
Yes.
or at Davis, they're here for the summer, they can be taking classes.
Yes.
And do they get the same deal that they pay for only 8 credits and they can take as many classes? Or is there a limit to those paying for 8 units, and how many classes can they take?
For the Pay for Only 8 incentive this summer, it applies to all UC students. And how it works is, for those who don't know about the Pay for Only 8 incentive, all UC students pay for only 8 units and per unit course fees. And any additional units they enroll after that, they don't have to pay any more per unit course fees. And this goes, like you were saying, to UCLA, UCR students as well. And since we have on-campus and online courses, there's really no reason why students shouldn't be taking our courses, because it's such a good way to get ahead but save a lot of money too.
And how many UCI students take summer session?
So here UCI students, at least 10,000.
Yeah, a massive amount of people do that. And so this is a huge engine.
There's no cap on the number of courses you can take with that 8?
Oh, sorry, I didn't answer that. So for that, every student can take a maximum of 10 units per session. So in the entire summer, usually the cap is around 20. But if students want to take more, which surprisingly there are a handful of students who want to take more than 20 units in the summer, if they get the exception approved by their counselors, they can enroll in more than 20 units. So we have some students taking 24 or even 28 units per summer, which is a lot.
And one of the, yeah, go ahead.
Quick question, those students coming from community college and Cal State, those units transfer to different credits to their?
They do, but I would say those aren't as common students, because I think it's more like the UC students where a lot of our courses transfer easier, and the UC students are paying the same fee as UCI students versus people at OCC or people at Long Beach. They're paying more because they're a visiting student.
One of the things that's great that people don't know about summer session is they have these crazy leadership programs where they have the first opportunity to see high school students the summer before they start their career here at UCI. And then some of those students come back as mentors, and then they become leaders. And so there's a huge leadership development. And one of the outreaches that we want to communicate to you as communicators is, how do we spread the message? Summer school isn't just summer school. There's leadership opportunity, there's transfer edge programs, there's all these different programs. And so I would encourage you to connect and reach out, because they also, remember, selfish hat, if you remember this concept, people are all selfish, you're all selfish people, right? So am I. But the idea is that if you can figure out what somebody's selfish for and give them exactly what they want, when it's exactly what you want, then both selfish people can be very happy. And they're in front of tens of thousands of students. The students that maybe you want to go to your events, or you want to interact with your programs, or you want them to know about social ecology or things like that. So it's a great partnership to have, where there's a quid pro quo, the events that they have getting in front of their target audience and sort of cross-pollinating. So just don't think of summer session as just summer school. Summer school is cool. All right, give a round of applause to these ladies. They do a lot of hard work. And we're going to actually use one of their funnels as an example, and you'll have a chance to do some funnel drilling on them as well. Okay, we're going to be discussing what a funnel is and why we should care, as well as how the concept of deploying automated email campaigns, and specifically when it comes to Mailchimp. So I really had fun with the answers, and I appreciate everybody who RSVP'd. I just want you to look at these two and understand where you're at. So on one side, I have no idea what a funnel is in the context of social media. And the other side is we use a multi-channel funnel from Google Social Display, educational lead portals, and ground events, and leads go into Marketo, and then we remarket them with email, retarget them on social. So we have all kinds here, but it's really interesting layout. This is a questionnaire about how much do you know about funnels. And if you see, we're very much skewed to this end about not knowing what funnels are and how they work in a social media capacity. So out of respect for those people, a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is some of the basics, some of the meta, some of the conceptual, so that you're familiar with it. Because once you become familiar with something like this, you can find out how the application will work for you. So we have, way more than half that are just on this side of the fence. So we have a few experts. We have 4 experts. This is great. And I want you to probably eventually feel comfortable identifying yourself with it, because the best thing we can do is share these best practices. Quick side story, has anybody heard of the Edu Web Summit? It's an 8-year running conference. They go around the US, and this year it was in San Diego. Michael Denon and I actually gave a presentation about why administrators and faculty and deans and vice provosts should be on social media. But one of the great things about that conference, people like you from all campuses around the universities across the US, they come together, and there's very much a collaborative environment. If you've been to a business social media conference, it's kind of like, I'm going to use this for myself, and like, when it comes to education, it's a very sharing kind of network. So I want to keep that same type of mentality. And if you have something that's working for you, by all means, let's share it with everybody else. Talk about statistics. If you're a statistics nerd, how's this for a bell curve distribution? I mean, this is great. Like, I want to call my stats professor and be like, look what happened. But you literally, from a knowledge of automation, it is almost a perfect bell curve. So we're going to be working somewhere in the middle of that. This idea of you hit what you aim at is very true, and especially when it comes to funnel marketing. When it comes to target marketing, a lot of times you are aiming at the wrong target, and you're going to hit that wrong target, and you're never going to get the target that you want because your aim was off in the first place. So I want you to keep this as an overarching. If I ask you, who are you trying to get in front of? Don't use the A word, don't use the E word. Anyone or everyone. When it comes to students, a freshman is a lot different than a senior, is a lot different who somebody is a sophomore and goes to summer school, somebody who is undeclared versus not. There's a lot of subcategories, and a few people talked about segmentation, and that's a big part of it, right? More is not necessarily better in this case. A funnel, think of it as a scope, or just like honing in on that. So a big part of a successful funnel is actually knowing who your target student is. All right, what's a funnel and why should we care? This is what it looks like, okay? It's a funnel. Starts really big, comes down really skinny. And when it comes to why it's a funnel, it's exactly what you would think. It starts off with a large amount of people and funnels down into the bottom. But the thing is, not everybody gets through the bottom. There's a lot of holes in this funnel. So it's like a sponge funnel, and everybody exits out all over the place. So as people continue along, you're going to hopefully convince them to take the next step and take the next step until you get them where you want them. And remember, you don't want everyone. So part of a funnel is to help you eliminate those people to not spend as much ad spend on, or not spend as much time on, or not spend as much effort on. At the end of the day, if I had to sum up what a funnel is, it is to have somebody stand behind you as you close your eyes and fall back, hopefully that they're going to catch you. It's just a trust building mechanism at the end of the day. And how effective you are at building that trust is how effective your funnel is. And you will see people who set up funnels and basically just try to get people to buy right off the bat. That's not an effective funnel. Okay, so building trust over time, that's the goal here. There's a few different versions. This is one that is the idea. And essentially, I like this because it breaks it up into very simple categories. You can break this up into more, but it's awareness, interest, desire, and action. Those are the things that you step people through. Now, if you were going to look at, say, an Amazon funnel, it could be as simple as going to Amazon, clicking onto a search item that you find, going into the checkout, checking out. That's a very straightforward funnel. That's more of a purchase of a good or service. But when you're dealing with students who have emotions and torn interest and lots of noise and, awareness to a whole variety of things, as in college, you have to really figure out what is going to be valuable for them and what you're going to offer at the end. Just a little quick foreshadow for Mailchimp. They have all the sequencing that you need, for the most part, is already figured out. And these are for people who are low to mid-range and have an idea that they want to automate some of the process. If you go into Mailchimp, there are sequences for building a brand, connecting with your contacts, getting results, boosting loyalty, bringing people back. Each one of those has different campaigns that are already preset that you then can click on and edit these emails that maybe you would be doing manually before. So let's talk about the top of the funnel, right? Put out as many lines as you can. Now, this might be contradictory to what I'm saying about more is not better, but this is still along the same lines, because you've got to get a massive amount of people on the top to make sure that you know who that person is in the bottom. And through your funnel, you might convert someone who you didn't initially think was your target, but it still is important that you know the students that you're after. So what does this look like? It's an awareness, and it educates your prospects and it lets people know who you are. And there's really not much at the top of the funnel that you're trying to get from someone. The top of the funnel is very much you're trying to give to people. Being aware of these inbound channels is important. So let's talk about some of what's an example of top of the funnel. Just spout it out. Email form, yeah. Somebody goes your contact form, right? What else? Alumni database, an existing database, right. Anything else? Search? Okay, yeah, it's just somebody searching. What if somebody lands on your web page, but they don't fill out a contact form? Is there any way that that could be top of your funnel? I go visit socialecology.com and I go, whew. How can you track that, Aaron? So we're not going to get into it too much, but I just want to plant the seed. There are pixels or trackers. So Facebook has a Facebook pixel. Google has Google tracking codes. It's just an HTML code that is put into a website, and it basically grabs somebody's information even if they don't leave it. So, and you might not think it's right, but how many people have gone to Amazon and they've bought a pair of boots, maybe some furry boots, and then you're searching over here on a YouTube search, and then a video pops up about furry boots. And then you're over here searching on eBay, and all of a sudden it's like people who are like you might also like furry boots. And you're like, I just bought furry boots. This is amazing. I need another pair of furry boots. So they are tracking you and they are following you, and that's what these cookies are, right? They make it sound nice and fun so that you don't get distracted by it. They're like, oh, it's just a cookie. You're like, oh, cookies are cool. No, but they're really just like following you. So if you don't have Google tags, and if you don't have a Google Analytics account, that might be something to look at, because you can put tracking pixels on your website so that if you have 1,000 students that visit and only 3 of them that actually fill out the form, well, you could put an ad in Facebook that hits them on Facebook because you know that they've already visited you. And that maybe is a whole nother topic for one of these talks. And if you want that to be a topic or you want to learn more, let me know. And then you just provide lunch, and then we provide the brain food. So pixels, retargeting ads. Remember that one? We're going to retarget and retarget. It basically means that at the top of the funnel, you can find and remarket to people that have shown interest by their actions, but not by actually typing in. So those are all. Now, everybody listed something that was online, and I was curious to see if anybody would say a booth or a walk-in, because I want you to realize there's always an online and always an offline component when you're looking at these strategies. So middle of the funnel, this is where you are providing value. This is where you're sharing amazing content. This is where that video that you made and produced that you want people to see, this is where you give it to them. This is where you feed them all the information that you wish you could feed them if you had their attention, but now you have their attention. But will it keep their attention? And that's really where the challenge comes. Now, at the bottom of the funnel, if you notice, there's something particular here about these two individuals. One is fishing in the water, the other one is fishing in the bait. And at the bottom of the funnel, you have an opportunity to cast your line in the bait bucket with the people who've shown interest, or if they stayed around, or you can score them if you're using a more advanced system, and you have an opportunity to make your ask, or you have an opportunity to make your offer, or you have an opportunity to invite them to your event, or just to really sell them on the services that you provide. And this is basically at the point where you've built a relationship with them, they trust you, they value what you have, and you can go in for the ask. Because a student, just like a consumer, they need to know you, like you, and trust you in order for them to make some sort of a buying decision. Now, they're not giving you money, but buying, really, you always have to think about the economy we're in. And we're in an economy of attention. And if you haven't gotten wind of that, people are more hesitant to pay with their time than they are with their money. And so you have to get out of this mentality, and you have to think, what can I give these people that is worth their time, that they're going to invest? Will they invest 2 minutes? Maybe not. Maybe they'll invest 30 seconds as a trailer to maybe bring them somewhere else. Okay, let's look at the types of funnels. There's an educational funnel. And if you look here at the top, this is for social media, or maybe retargeting ads, or you could even have paid ads that would travel down to a landing page. And a landing page is a fancy word for where someone lands online. Okay? It could be a website. It could be your Facebook page. It could be your blog. So don't get confused by the landing page. And then essentially, that landing page, you have an opportunity to go and give them an offer, which could be a lead magnet page. You could have them take a quiz. Based on that quiz, you could score them with either 1, 2, or 3. If they're a 1, it's disqualifying them. If they're a 2, maybe they're ready to buy certain, or maybe they've identified as a certain, they want to go to an event. And if it's 3, maybe they're not ready yet and you need to nurture them more. Okay? When it comes to education, once you identify where they are, you might throw them back into another nurture campaign. You might identify that they're interested in a certain topic because you can see that they clicked on a certain link within an email. Or, depending on the system, they'll automatically tag that contact as being interested in that. When you have another system or another funnel set up and it looks for the tags, oh, there's a tag that someone is interested in, and it could set another series of emails. So it truly is automation, but like any good automation, garbage in is garbage out. So there's a big focus on finding out what that ideal funnel would look like before you even get confused about this. But in general sense, an educational funnel is probably one that is something you all should start with. Okay? I've got one that's even better and easier, and we're going to do that in a little bit as well. So education. The goal is to get information at a booth. How many people have boothing and they get all these information? They're like, all right, look, we got 32 people from this booth. This is a high value effort. Now what? Right? Throw them in the database. Chances are that person might not get an email from you for 6 months. And then all of a sudden, that's like coming across the table and being like, here, buy. What? Who is that person? I give my information to booths all the time. So imagine if, as part of this process, you have an educational campaign set up off of a booth, like a boothing campaign. Who here booths? Any boothers? If you had all the time in the world and the student was just really wanting to talk at the booth, what are the 3 things that you would like dive into 3 different conversations about?
Why they're interested in talking to me, my program.
Okay, so what is the program?
Master of Urban Original Plan.
Okay, so information on the program. Okay, what else?
How soon, like how old they are, how soon they're interested in possibly.
Okay, so information on when they could actually get involved, maybe.
Right.
And what else?
Their
Internship opportunities. I don't know, right? So imagine if you're in a booth and you're investing this time and effort and somebody comes up to the booth. You want to basically explain, like you have a whole list of things. Let me tell you about this program. Let me tell you when you can apply. Let me tell you about these internship opportunities. Whatever extended form information that you would give at a booth, all the content for an educational funnel is there. You could, as soon as you get this list, you could bring it back to the office and have a student put it in and tag it as identifying it to segment it as a booth lead. And then that would activate this automated campaign. They get an email the same day that says, hey, thanks for visiting our booth. It was really fun to talk with you, and here's a little bit more information about our program. In fact, we know your time is limited. Watch this 30-second video. Then 3 days later, another email hits and says, hey, it's us again. Just a reminder, if you are interested in this program, the sign-up period is from here to here. Then 7 days later, You send them something that's just like a total cool video or highlighting one of your students. And then 4 weeks later, they get another email that says, hey, we haven't heard from you in a while, because you can identify that they haven't even clicked anything. Or you can set up something that says, hey, we noticed you haven't opened any of the last 7 emails, right? Like, how did you know that? Furry boots. So thinking of something even at a booth, like what would be in this? It would be what you would want to explain to them if they had the time. So like an assessment, right? Not all students are going to qualify for that program. So maybe you would ask some qualifying questions when you met them in person. Well, what major are you? How much time do you have? What are your credits? What are your units? This might not be the best program for you. So you could have them take a quiz. Everybody who at least grew up in an era where there was no cell phones would take those magazines and there'd be all these quizzes, and we'd be excited to see if we're compatible for some star or something like that, right? So think of it like that. People like to take quizzes. You could come up with, how fit are you to save poverty? Oh, I'm fit. Take the quiz. I dare you, right? And you have all this information now that you can extrapolate from it. So just want you to think in real life how this would translate. Then there's sequential. This is one that we just sort of mentioned. Day 1, email 1. Day 7, email 2. Maybe there's a video, maybe there's a survey. Day 14, there's just a check-in. Maybe day 20, what do you want them to do? Now, if you see me at the booth January, or if you see me at the booth in August, I'm going to give you the exact same email, starting number 1, starting number 2, starting number 3. You'll get the full sequence. So you have to be careful that it's evergreen, right? And if it has specific dates, you can say, here's the dates for the entire year, just to cover yourself. Then there's chronological. Now, this is cool because every January it's New Year's. And every June that it's summertime. And what you can do is you can set up a chronological campaign so that if I visit the booth in January, I get all of these emails. But if I come in July, I get those last 2. So this is where you can be relevant to the time. Anteaters Unite, it's time to go to, it's time to celebrate summer. Did you know that during the summer the writing program have walk-in hours and there's no line? That's right. What's your summer writing project? We'd love to hear, kind of thing. And these are my general categories of them. You can really get crazy and you can go further into the rabbit hole. And here's an example of that quote initially. What they were doing is they're using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and they're dropping the top of the funnel, and then they're dividing and segmenting, and then they're probably doing split A/B testing on them, and then based on the qualified, they'll throw them over to a third party that has their own crazy thing that'll go back and retarget them on the actual platforms where they found them originally. So this is more complex. But in a general sense, I just want you to not be intimidated by an educational funnel, which is what you would communicate if they gave you the time, over an amount of time. Then a sequential, which is you could do a series of conversations that you'd like to have with somebody that no matter what time of the year, it's the same conversation. Or something that's sequential that can actually hit people on the spot. Because I bet all of you know what events you have coming up next year. Summer session. Do you know what's going on next year?
We're having courses next year.
But the reason why they're able to use automated campaigns is because they know, for the most part, they map out the entire year. And so they know these events, they know these deadlines, they know what's going on, and so they can have automated email campaigns that go out. Yes, Goran? That was a fist, it wasn't a full hand, I'm not sure.
No,
Okay.
it's a question and a comment. So one thing is to keep in mind that as you are narrowing the funnel, that you will lose some people along the way, either purposely or by chance.
Yes.
You want to make sure that they are feeling like it wasn't your fault for dropping them, that they feel that you're still welcoming them back should they want to come back, and that you didn't really just shove them away in pursuit of some other people.
Absolutely. We don't want anybody's head to get stuck in the hole when they're leaving the funnel, right? Like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or something like that.
Right. Or that you didn't pay attention to them because you were pursuing other people. So that they left because, okay, you were focused on other people, but they still... So the other thing is that they could come back.
Yes.
Maybe that wasn't the right time to engage them. Maybe the funnel went too fast for them.
Yep.
But the funnel is porous, and you can also have people come back in at a later point where they already have the awareness, but now they're ready to engage.
Absolutely. And this is very, very much the case for donors as well as outside community members. Because students, I think they're used to getting bombarded with emails and they're signing up for booths and they really pick and choose what they want. And you can take those people that fall out of the funnel and you can create a funnel for those that fall out of the funnel, right? And so another thing to do is that if you have an email that you're sending to people who fall out of the funnel, you can actually, the call to action is reach out to us, call us, email us. And that way they're not stuck into some vortex where you don't know they clicked on a button. You're actually, the call to action is to come back and actually do that, right? Yes?
I'm a little confused. When you say follow the funnel, are we talking about like unsubscribers or followers?
So let's say in a simple model, in a very simple model, if you have a sequential campaign like this, and let's say that you can tell somebody goes through the entire campaign and never opens up an email. I'd say they fell out of the funnel, okay? On a very simplistic measure. You could identify those people and you could send them another communication saying, hey, I realize you didn't open up any of the other emails. No hard feelings. If you want to get in touch, we're still here to support you. Maybe come to our yearly event, the Summer Fest, because it's going to be a lot of fun. That's in a very example, over there. If you had something that was more complex, say like this, you also would identify people that, yes, would unsubscribe from you. That's probably the worst case. That's them leaving the funnel. And if you had a number of unsubscribes that you're monitoring, you might reevaluate the frequency of the funnel or the aggressiveness of your ask versus the value that you're providing in the funnel. But the idea is that Goran brings up, which is a great point, when you start off with a whole bunch and you just get a few at the end, what happens to all those other people? There could be, and think about this in real life, you have 100 students that walk through your door, and you can only help 5 or 10 of them because they qualify. And what would you tell those people that you can't really help them, or they're too busy? Maybe there's online resources, maybe there's ways to help support them in another way. And that's a great point because you are focusing on finding the clients and the students that are best for you, but keep in mind those that aren't best for you, maybe you can share information on another program to help advise them that this might be another place to start. So hopefully that answered your question, but in a simple way, people that don't engage with your funnel kind of fall out. And people that engage in the opposite end of bailing on it, then you might want to reevaluate what that would look like. And this is a topic that comes up in Giving Day, right? This is a big topic. Like we send 8 emails during the day, and there's a few people that unsubscribe. But the benefit of getting the message out there outweighs, and they are tricky too because they're doing it off of a different listserv, so anybody that unsubscribes doesn't really unsubscribe to the initial list. I'll quiz you on that later. So I want to talk about what people are using funnels for in email automation right now. And when I say funnels and automation, the automation part is what helps you sift through the funnel, okay? But automation in itself could just be automation. A funnel is a little bit of a higher level, like where are these inputs coming in, how can I engage with them, and what will my output be when I get them ready to sign up for my program. These are all from people who are here in one shape or another or RSVP'd. Emailing alumni donors, prospective students for new student leads from Facebook or social media to provide necessary information to students, departmental updates, marketing programs such as summer school uses, marketing leadership programs, marketing quarterly events without even thinking about it, and then more effectively building community and cultivating donors. You can have a whole funnel that doesn't ask for anything. It's basically a newsletter, right? But it's a newsletter that maybe is a little bit more thought through, and it's, as you get more developed, the people who actually click on certain links, you can then start to cater that information towards them, right? If you send a newsletter and nobody ever clicks on the events tab, you could probably segment them out into somebody who's not interested in events and focus their attention more on faculty stories. Or somebody who always clicks on the faculty story, you could probably tag them, and you could actually have a whole other sequence about research that's coming out from faculty. And again, the setting up part isn't as difficult as the figuring out part. And that's what I want to get through to everybody today. I want to talk about a lead magnet because in order to have a funnel, you have to feed the funnel. So a lead magnet is basically something that is offered that you either click or is swag that you walk by and you're like, oh, this is cool. And you're like, yeah, I can have, oh, okay, I'll give you my information, right? So think of online and offline, but a lead magnet is an incentive for people to jump into your funnel. And I had asked some examples of that before. could be everything from an online to an offline, spa, coffee hour, things like that. And here's an overwhelming slide with a whole bunch of examples. Okay, so you can look through this. I'm not going to read them all, but it could be everything from, hey, we have a new mobile app, to we have a tutorial, to an ebook, to using SlideShare platform, to a coaching session, a free coaching session on your next resume interview. Could be a waiting list. It could be a Facebook group. I like this idea of a Facebook group. Maybe they're allowed to come in anyways, but now you're offering it as a way to connect with other people who are trying to save the world from poverty. Maybe you're trying to connect with other people who are doing this. A white paper. You've got all this amazing research, right? Take the research, put it into a white paper. You can use an infographic. These are all ways that you can incentivize people, the 100 students that join your page, to actually get something of value. And I don't see a lot of lead magnets on websites, right? So it's maybe something to think about. Or it could be an offer that you offer, like for the Blum Center. You guys probably have some amazing information that you could say, download this infographic to share with your friends about the top 10 reasons why poverty is so bad in Orange County. And to click on it, they have to give you your email. Now they can go into a nurture campaign for your minor. Okay, so let's go back to here. What makes for a good online magnet? Solves a real problem, promises a quick win, super specific, easy to digest, high value, instantly accessible, and demonstrates your unique experience or your underlying value proposition, right? Because each department, I believe, nobody cares what you do. They just care about the problem that you're solving, because students are selfish as well. And so if you can communicate that this piece of paper, this template, this study guideline, this matrix to write a paper, this 10 tips to better your relationship with your roommate, these are all tools that the students are after. It's what you're providing, so it could be in a digital format. What makes a good offline? Still solves a problem. It's cool. Cool swag will definitely get people interested. Being super specific, relatable. Oh my gosh, those people are just like me, right? There's this relatability to it in person. Fun summer session. The reason why they get 10,000 students is because they're out there with fanny packs, dressed up like suns, jumping around, doing all kinds of fun stuff. They make summer school cool. And so they have great offline magnetism. Questions about this so far? Hopefully we feel comfortable about the different types of funnels, the fact that automation can help to nurture a relationship so you can fall back and people trust you, as well as this concept of a lead magnet, which is what value can you provide up front so that you can grab their email and start that relationship. And I'm sure most of you have downloaded something in your life on a website that you're interested at, and a pop-up comes up. You're like, that's exactly what I wanted. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get this from them. I got all the information I need. And then a week later, you get an email from them, and you're like, oh, those guys. Well, I kind of enjoyed this. What's going on with this? And then they send you another one, and you end up spending money or buying furry boots. Okay? Boots with the fur. I want to go sidetrack to something meta real quick. And it's this idea of success versus winning. And if you watched Denon's TEDx talk, which I know you will now, this is what the whole primary focus was. We are so ingrained to think that we need to win. We teach our students you need to win. You need to get an A. You need to pass your class with flying colors. You're in a race. You need to win. But he makes the argument that a C student who becomes an A student is probably a better employee at the end of the day because they've dealt with struggle. He didn't win, but he was successful. Or she didn't win, but she was successful. And so when it comes to social media, when it comes to funnels, when it comes to exploring these things that are totally scary, you have to understand that success is more than just winning. And if you're talking to a superior and they're like, well, I don't know, this sounds like a lot of work. Well, yes, it is, but if we don't get in the race, then how are we even going to start? And so this idea is that you've got to get in the race. Because if you don't, everybody else will just sort of be there. So it's this idea when it comes to social and exploring these different topics and getting outside of your comfort zone, it's really about planning not to win, but to finish. So I'd rather have you say, well, let's try to come up with the simplest automation email and let's actually do it. Then be intimidated by trying to do a crazy nurture campaign that's educational and sequential and have these components, and then you never actually win because it's just too much to bite off. So there's a little bit of rah-rah motivational, because at the end of the day, all this information is for naught if you don't just try it. And when it comes to social and everything else, if it frightens you, which funnels do, you should try it. And if you do it in an environment that is professional, maybe test it with you can create a funnel and test it within your office and see how it runs. See what your fellow employees think about it. Get a group of students that are close to you in an organization that you work with closely and say, hey, we've developed this funnel. Can we put you guys in it and see what you think about it? They can give you feedback. But again, if you don't do it, then you just won't do it. If you don't do it, you won't do it. That's another quote. I'm going to draw that one. Okay, so we're going to talk about funnels in real life, because I want to make sure that you guys have good examples of what this looks like in real life, and that's IRL. So we're going to bring up the summer session folks now. Big old round of applause for them again. Woo! And Florentina, if you want to chill, you're welcome to. This party's big party here.
Oh, what are we talking about?
We're going to talk about what you guys do in your email funnels.
Oh, okay.
So these are some of the notes that were brought to me as far as this goes. And before you look at this, why don't you tell them about basically what you use automation for and how you integrate it into your marketing.
At summer session, we have a few different programs, like I mentioned, and the first is the general summer session courses. And with this, we like to market to the UC students, because in those emails, we can include pay for only 8, and then also to the non-UC students, because for those, we'll just make sure not to include the pay for only 8 incentive. And we get these leads from our resource fairs on campus, and we also get it from our website. In addition to that, we market for our Visiting International program, which is the example we'll be going over today. And online, we also get it from our website for the email leads, and we also get it from a marketing lead system called Keystone, where they send us student emails who are interested in our program. And in person, we have our Director of International Partnerships, Michael Lyons, go out to universities around the world, like in Europe or in Asia, and he meets all of these students at these universities, study abroad centers or fairs, and brings back all that email information for us. And our goal is to have those students enroll in our Summer International program. And lastly, we also have a Freshman Edge and Transfer Edge program, which is for incoming transfer students or incoming freshman students, and we want them to start their UCI journey in the summer with us before they start in the fall. And we get these emails also online from the website, and we get emails from the resource fairs. So for Transfer Edge, we'll get it from community college fairs, and for Freshman Edge, we might go to those welcome anteater events that UCI Admissions has, or Celebrate UCI is a really, really big event for freshmen. And overall, like I was saying, our goal is to really attract them to enroll in our summer programs that next summer.
I just want, maybe you can talk through, I've got all the emails just pasted here. Obviously you can't see them, but that's the point, is we don't want you to get tied up. Maybe step us through your logic in what some of these emails are. And I want you to think, how could I relate this same sort of a thing? And being specific about whether it's a value add or a bonus, and at what point you start to kind of bring them in.
I just discussed the way that we get awareness from our leads, and starting with our first email, we'll go into the interest. And when we first drop a student in our list, Mailchimp will automatically send them a sequential set of emails. And the first one is right here, and this is just a very general one. It's like, thank you for signing up for our program. And we like to get specific with using merge tags, where we'll say, thank you for signing up via our website or via Michael's University Fair or via Keystone, just so those students can remember, oh, I signed up via this way. And you don't have to manually put it, because Mailchimp does that job for you. If you just organize everything in Excel and import it that way, they'll take care of all the merge tags for you.
So maybe let's talk about that for a second, because I can feel the brain squeezing. So when you say merge tags, so you have these different leads that are coming in from different stuff. Michael has something over here, a website, something over here, and that goes directly into Mailchimp, or are these just, is this data that you're gathering outside and putting into Mailchimp?
Okay. We get these sent to us via email, and we input them into an Excel sheet. And from Excel, we drop into Mailchimp. But Mailchimp does have the capacity where you could create a form directly on your website and put it on your website, and it'll go directly into Mailchimp. We haven't done it this way before, but I believe there's that capacity. If that's the case.
Definitely. And those are managed through different lists, right? So if you create a list that is for when Michael's traveling abroad, and he either physically gets the email or someone gets the email back, they can enter in that person's contact, and now it's tagged into that list. And then within that list, you can then create different subsets within that list, but they're tagged. Think of it like a hashtag lapel pin. It just sticks with you, right? So think of these different students walking around with different pins that you can identify and that Mailchimp can identify. So the concept of the first email is really what? It's just saying hi, right?
Yes. And just welcome and just very brief what you want them to learn about, because the first email is the email they'll most likely open the most. And I find that the open rate for the first email is always going to be higher than the sequential email. So it's a good opportunity to just get the information you want out there very simply. And what we do is we include a quick video, and then we just give a quick couple blurbs about UCI and our programs, such as UCI is ranked #1 in X, Y, and Z. We have the beaches. That's something we like to talk about a lot, because a lot of other countries, they don't have beaches like Southern California. And we'll also talk about the world-renowned professors and research here. And just in quick, like 3-4 bullet points, we'll put that on the first email, and then that would be the first one that is sent to our students. And if you want to get really fancy for
Yes,
the first
we do.
email, if we know that there's some students who sign up but don't open the first email, we actually have this email on the side that is specifically sent to students who do not open the first email. And like I said, we do sequential emails, so this is the first email, and they'll get the rest of the email in 2 weeks. But what we do for the first email is if they don't open the first email by the first week, we'll send them a second email that's pretty similar to the first one 1 week after. That way they'll always get the second email as everyone else's 2 weeks later. But for those students who might not have received it the first time, they can get kind of like a heads up right here 1 week later. And we find that students do open this side email before moving on to the rest of them.
And then the point of this being a sequential, so the first one comes out 2 weeks later, the next one comes out, and then how many weeks till the next one?
2 weeks.
Okay, so this 2 week span, but being able to identify those that didn't open the first, throwing a secondary email in between, but still keeps them on this main one. And so there's a perfect example of little segmentation of seeing if someone opened it or not, but it allowing them to still be on the main campaign. And I would imagine that they get this second email, it's not like it's a whole different chain, it's basically the same first email, but in a secondary. And I would imagine people don't go back and search to look at the first one, they're moving forward.
And after the first emails is sent, we're still working on getting interest from the students. We'll give a couple more reasons, in-depth reasons why they should come to our program. And on the left, we have both the academic and student life reasons they should come, because we always like to strike a balance with our students that we're a fun school where there's a lot to do, but we're also a world-renowned, really bright school with a brilliant future.
Brilliant.
And that's what we have here. And these are two separate ones, so it'll be 2 weeks after each other. And the next slide. Okay. And hopefully after those couple emails, we start getting a little bit more desire from the students.
And can I ask, how do you find out that there's desire? Is it with the click rates? Are they actually reaching out to you? Are you pointing them to contact your office? How do you bring them off of the chain?
I would say just to see who's continuously opening the emails. There's some subscribers where you can see they're opening every single email the minute you send them, and those are probably the students that are really, really having the desire to enroll in your program. There's also some students who might not have that desire, where they open the first email and they either don't continue or they unsubscribe. And a couple examples of our desires is we focus on university center because I think it's very rare that there's a school with so many resources just a walking distance away, such as T-Mobile and Target. We also focus on the Southern California communities such as the beaches, Disneyland, Six Flags, Newport Beach, and etc. And we also discuss a lot of the on-campus resource, which is, how many Starbucks do we have? I think 3 to 4 Starbucks
10.
on campus. And we also have our shuttles, we have the ARC, and we have our libraries as well. And
You ready for the next one?
I can use the next slide,
Yep.
yes. Thank you. And kind of a side note, another way you can segment it, if you can get really specific, is we started testing it for students based on their major because with Keystone, we could find out whether our international students were a business major, engineering major, English major, etc. And since some of our schools are very well known based on the researcher, we decided to test it with the Henry Samuelis School of Engineering and the Paul Mirage School of Business. And these students will receive a spotlight on that school. And that's just a good way to segment, like Ryan was saying, if there's little ways you can figure out something about the student, you can really get closer and closer to segmenting them, such as, are they a freshman? Are they going to come to our program next year? Or if they're maybe in high school still, maybe our emails have to be a little bit different and sent a little bit later than the students who are incoming freshmen. And by the time we get to Desire, we also have the course preview. I would say course preview is between Desire and Action because course preview is where we show these international students which courses are available for them to take. And when we finally get to Action, we have the application checklist. In all of the previous emails I mentioned, I do have a button that says enroll now, but it doesn't really speak loudly because we're still trying to get their interest and desire. But on the last email, is getting the action out there by telling them, here are the steps A through Z on how to enroll in our program and the deadlines, and click this big button right here if you want to enroll now, and that's how we wrap up our funnel for visiting international programs.
So if you look, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's 13 emails, right? And do you have an idea of the unsubscribe rate, or in a general sense, and are you using that as a barometer of the amount of emails?
I would say this is the first year we've really delved into automation, but what I've noticed is the unsubscription rate isn't too high because I would say students just start not reading them. Because if you send it over 2 weeks, it won't bother them too much, but if you were to send it every other hour, every day, I think they would start unsubscribing potentially.
Excellent. Give her a round of applause. She's not done yet. She's not done yet, though. That deserved it. Whatever was thinking, I was just helping them to communicate their thoughts there. So maybe we can just talk through some of this, right? You've got basically the automation campaign. The campaigns are segmented for UCI, non-UCI, and then you get the leads, as you mentioned, from this other. What about some of your other campaigns? Are you taking the information from the boothing and some of these fun events that you have, and are you plugging them into Mailchimp?
Yes, so for those emails, as Ryan was mentioning, if we have a on-campus resource fair such as Ring Road, we know for the most part they're a UC student because all their emails say @uci.edu, and from there we'll drop them into the funnel in the UC student funnel, and they'll start receiving emails about pay for only 8 and deadlines to enroll. If we go, say, to another event off campus, such as a high school or a just Irvine community event, and we find out that they're non-UC students, because we'll have sections on the sign-in sheet that say, are you a UC student, or are you a high school student, or etc., then we'll drop them in the non-UC funnel. And as mentioned earlier, the only big difference I would say is I don't include the pay for only 8 incentive, but everything else is the same. We have a lot of courses on campus and online, and the deadlines are the same for all the students as well.
Excellent. Maybe talk about your transfer edge, right? These are individuals that are coming from the transfer. Is it anything different that you're doing with that email automation?
I would say not too much, just because for the freshmen and transfer students, some of them are already accepted, and that's great, and we put them in the funnel, but we'll also take those students who are just on their first year of community college and they're thinking about UCI. We can still put them in the funnel, because even if they don't go to UCI in the future, they'll still know about our program, and maybe they'll tell their friends or family. Or if they do go to UCI in 1 to 2 years, they'll remember all the emails that we sent them regarding our program.
Question, yes.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time visualizing how you organize your listserv. So when you input a new member or subscriber to Mailchimp, does it automatically send that first welcome email, or do you have to do that like cyclically? How does that work?
It will send automatically if you just leave the automation live. So the answer is basically yes. And this saves a lot of time, because before we were doing this manually, where every time we get an email, our staff would go, "Hi, we appreciate you signing up," and such. And we would be doing this every day, versus now we can drop like a huge Excel list every day, but it'll be with like tens or hundreds of students, and then they'll all get it in different waves.
And in Mailchimp, you have the sequences that you can pause and you can edit, and then you can go back on. But if Mailchimp identifies that a new contact has a certain tag, which in your Excel spreadsheet you're tagging them appropriately, then it batches and it starts it. Then you can always pause it and go in and edit it and then come back to it. Yes?
So for the other demographics that you mentioned, like if they have a specific major, is that a different list, or is it like, is there some way to tag something within a list?
So you could do it in a separate list if that's easier, but I think it's easier if you have the same list, like let's say interest list 2018, and have groups under them. That's what they call in Mailchimp. And then in all the Mailchimp emails, there's something called segment conditions, and you can put only send this if they are part of 2018 group 1 and or group 2, and they let you choose and or as those words, so you can really segment exactly what you want.
And we're going to do a little live demo too, so you'll see how that works. All right, and then the big question is, how do you measure success?
Okay. Of course, the open rate and click rate are really good to see how many people are engaging. I would probably call that the success, but in reality, our winning is the end of program surveys that tells us how many people enrolled because of our email. And in addition to a survey, another thing you can do, it's a little manual, is you can export your interest list for that year and compare to the list of students who have actually enrolled and see if any of them match.
Okay. Give her another round of applause. Nice job. Nice fanny pack, by the way. Just have to say. Questions on that? And I just want you to see a real life example. And as she mentioned, she's still testing and they're working it out. But imagine a whole office of inputting emails every day of thanks, nice to meet you, versus some sort of automation, right? 12 emails might seem like a lot, but if you were in front of 1,000 students during the year, that's a lot of emails that can help take that load off. And then you can dig in, look at the data, help segment, things like that. Okay? How many people have Mailchimp already? Okay, so quite a few people. The nice thing about Mailchimp is that it's free under 500 contacts, and it's pretty reasonable above that, and they're on. There was a question, well, we might get to it. I'll get to that in a minute. So I want to talk a little bit about what to fill your funnel with. And I think we had a great example of everything from highlighting the university accolades to the student life to their specific programs. But I want to make it even easier. It's 3 things. It's taking this whole huge big box and breaking it up into little parts. Basically, it's written, it's images, or it's video. That's it. So ask yourself, what content do we have that's already written? What's an article that students might like? What's something that performed well on Facebook? What's something that seemed to perform well over here? Maybe we could use that as part of our email funnel. Because one of the feedback in the initial form was like, I'm sending all these emails, but how do I keep it fresh with the same message and staying on brand? It's between these 3 things. What do you have that's written, or could you write? What type of images can you use, or even GIFs? They do a really good job with these emails. They're animated GIFs. So the image, like you open it and you're not doing anything and it's like moving. You're like, oh, that looks like fun. And you click on it. So images. And then video. As you mentioned, they had an initial video that basically is an intro. If you don't have a welcome video, that might be something to look at. If you want UCI Media to help with that, we're here to help. But the idea is like, just simplify it to it's either written, it's either images, or it's either video. And take an audit and see what you already have, see what the students are resonating with, or look what you might want to create other than that. Questions on this? So what to fill your funnel with?
Do you have any suggestions for, like, when you're in a department or depending on your unit, it's harder to figure out who should even be involved in figuring out what this content is, and you get so many different, this person wants this and this. Do you have tips?
I would say reverse engineer it, okay. Right? So what is the end result that you want someone to do? And that's going to help to determine where you go with that conversation. Are we looking for students to enroll in this minor? Great, okay, let's go one step back. So who are those students, right? What are they interested in? Can we talk to existing students right now? What was it that got them interested in the program? So if you have a very reverse engineered focus and market focus on who that target market is, that's a lot different than having a bunch of professors in a subcommittee that then create another subcommittee to try to figure out who's going to have a subcommittee to create the content. And I would say, as a rule of thumb, look to what's already out there that is performing well. Right? If you have, take for example, if you're in a department, what has Stratcom picked up and they've run with? Did you figure out how to unboil an egg? Maybe that might be good to put in there. So if you look at what the university sees, they're trying to have a public facing towards the community, so that might be good if you're trying to connect with donors or things like that. Even I think student testimonials is always a good default. Like, hey, well, why don't we, as a worst case, like, let's just get something together. Let's highlight a student in a few emails. Let's go student highlight, faculty highlight, student highlight, faculty highlight. And if you come up with the parameters first, which if we have time we're going to play with a little bit, then you can find the content. Okay? So, has anybody ever done mind mapping? Okay, we got one person. Yes. So this is how I help people to understand how to build funnels. Looks a little bit like this. And there's a software that's a free software. They don't pay me to say this, but this is a very simple software to use. And it's totally free. And what's cool about it is that you can invite people to view the mind maps. They have some real simple functions within the mind maps, and other people post their mind maps and they want to share it. So what I'm actually going to do is show you what this looks like. And if you do have a computer, I'd encourage you to grab it and go to mind42.com. I've got my spot here because I'm already logged in. And what you do is we create, let's do a new mind map. So let's call this, who wants to be the guinea pig? I'm not going to snort. Who wants to be a guinea pig? Who wants to pretend to build a little funnel right here? Okay, over here, yes.
Scholarship Opportunities Program.
Scholarship Opportunities Program. All right, so we're going to create this. Now, there are ads, because it's free. If you want to pay for it, the ads, get rid of it. So just ignore that, okay? Unless it's free boots, and I might click. Okay, so here's how simple it is. Let's say that, first off, you're going to meet people at a booth. Okay, so you're going to go boothing. And you can move this like this. So at the booth, let's say there's two options. One, you're going to get an email. And let's say another option, you're going to get no email. And maybe another option, they might follow you on social, right? It's like, hey, give this swag, follow on social. Okay? Any other options that come from a booth?
Direct call.
What's up?
A direct call.
A direct call. So maybe you get their phone number. Get their cell phone number. Okay. Any other opportunities? This is just a mind map experience.
Come in for an advising appointment.
Okay. So yeah. So schedule an appointment. Good. What else? Anything else? All right. So let's see if they get an email. what would the first email be that you send them? Thanks. Great meeting you. Okay. Then what's the second email that you'd send them? Here is some info. Okay, what's another one? You all can chirp in and pretend that you're part of this. Laughing, good. Okay, good. Maybe it's something fun. See, I know you guys are into this. What else? Okay, so let's think about this. If this is a campaign, so this is good to think about, right? If this is a campaign that whether I meet them now or in 6 months, it triggers and they get it, if we're going to do the deadlines, we might say, hey, as a heads up, here's our entire academic year calendar, right? So that it's not like, wait for this date. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so let's see, what else? Let's come up with 2 more. Okay, and then maybe a value add. Hey, here's a great template for scholarships that you can use to do it. And then you can have your ask, book an appointment, right? So let's say, using the best practices for summer session, based on this email, they either open or they don't. Okay, so what do you want to do if they open? Nothing, right? Well, that's fine, let's keep it simple. What if they don't? Send send second email with new headline. There you go. Basically the same thing, right? Be careful when you go back because it'll go all the way back. All right. Now here's some info. Now what happens if they, what happens if they not only open this, but if they click on the actual info, right? Then you could maybe make a point to call, right? Maybe you could be like, hey, I saw that you were looking at those furry boots. I want you to know we got some furry boots. What size are you? Okay. This is a very simple, we're just making this up on the spot, right? Okay, something fun. So here we go. Now what's cool about this software, just from a hypothetical standpoint, is that I can click onto here and I can put a note and I can actually say, subject line, if I can spell, so much pressure. Hey there, hi there, zot there. I don't know, I just came up with that, right? And then body. And you can come up with it, you can do image, you can put a link, and you can do this kind of stuff. So now, in your this mind map, you literally can actually say, okay, and here's the email that they're going to get, and then the next email is going to be this. You can star things, you can put images, you can do these different, but this is a very basic way to visualize and conceptualize it. And what's a fun experience to do is like, here's boothing, right? But what if we had website? And then what if the website, come on, save. What if the website, then they filled out form? But what if the website, they didn't fill out the form, but visited and left with a cookie, right? Then you could basically take these people, it's lagging here, and then you can go and you could create a retarget Facebook campaign. Then let's see if the website, maybe off of the website they click on an appointment link, which is a different one. And then based on the appointment link, they might or might not show up. Save, save, save. But then you could basically start another email. Email 1, thanks. And then email 2 could be, did you know? And then email 3 could be, refer a friend with 1 R. So let's see, let's see what else. Maybe you have an ad campaign. And then based on that ad campaign, you get an email. Do you see what I'm doing here? So the idea is if you can literally map out where all of this top of the funnel is coming from, what's nice about this mind map, it's only one level deep. Like, you can only go one way. So you can't get too crazy. It really is helping you to split these decisions on which way it goes. So if we had the time, I would say we could get into groups and we could replicate this same activity, which is Where do we start? What are these top of the funnel aspects? And when we get contacts from that, what would we ideally do? And then each of those, you could then create these campaigns in a Mailchimp, and it could just be as simple as one. Oh, that was a good click right there. All right, let's go back to, oh, should be on. Use what's available, even if it's not perfect. I know we're in higher education. Everything we do is perfect. Or we wait and plan to make sure it's perfect. But at the end of the day, if you plan for perfect, you will never execute. So a plan that is done poorly, maybe, I would argue, is a better plan that's not done at all. And I know Gordon's thinking, no plan done poorly. I hear you, Gordon. But in a general sense, you know, this idea of use what's available, and even if it's not perfect. And Mailchimp is available. It might not be perfect, but it's inexpensive, and it might not be perfect. So I want to go over some Mailchimp magic. And it was funny, when I was on their website, I'm like, oh, I'm going to take a screenshot for the presentation. And it just says, automated marketing, like right there. I'm like, this is a great slide. This is exactly what we're talking about, right? It's like, this is front and center. This is what they want to help you with. And plus, it's a monkey. They don't, yeah, now I'm in their funnel, exactly. Okay, so this is interesting. How familiar are you with Mailchimp? If you look at this, basically everything but the green is on the fence. So 80% of the people that we surveyed, and there's 70 people that RSVP'd, they're either don't know it or use it and not really sure how to use it. So I see opportunity here, right? There's a lot of opportunity. And for those that use it and love it and they're a Mailchimp master, let's find you and let's help support other people with your mastery. These are some of the questions that I saw pop up I want to address. Can we use Mailchimp for students? Summer session, yes or no?
Yes.
Do they have to opt in? Summer session, yes or no?
Yes.
Are there privacy issues? Summer session, yes or no?
No, but when students do sign up for it, there is always going to be in the emails they receive on the bottom to let them know about the privacy laws and etc.
Yeah. And I cut those out of the bottom of the snapshots because it was just too long. But in the bottom of all the emails was like, hey, disclosure, disclaimer, hey, hey. Yeah, totally. The small print, right below the fold. So questions on this. You can use it. Now, Mailchimp is cool about uploading it because they trust you. Monkeys are trusting. But if you use something like Active Campaign, which is a more professional, a little bit more expensive, they are hardcore. Like, you cannot just batch 10,000 leads into Active Campaign. You just can't. They won't let you do that because they're so massive and they're so into the privacy. And if you're looking at a more dynamic program, they're going to be very, very strict about that because it's the livelihood of their business. The more unsubscribes, they go out of business. So Mailchimp, I feel, is a bit loose on this. And obviously, you want to make sure that you're getting them to opt in by giving you their email. Maybe it's just, hey, you're going to be receiving emails, or all of the standard kind of disclosure stuff that you would normally do. If it's to a larger email database of maybe alumni or something like that, you could literally send them an email as you normally would, saying, hey, in order to get regular updates, highlights from students, fresh faculty news, here's a new form that we're going to be giving you updates, every 2-week updates. You can create a new form and you can actually see who wants to opt in from that. That could be another step of opt-in. You don't just have to surprise attack them with an email. The idea is to work smarter, automate, and delegate. Summer session, has Mailchimp made your life easier? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, that's very solid. Mailchimp automation. This is for those of you who are dabbling with it. You can sign up for a free account. When you go into Mailchimp, you literally can go to the campaigns and type in a search, and it comes up with all of these pre-populated campaigns. And then you click on it for one of these categories, and then it has a number of different pre-done systems. Then you click on the system, and it already has the pre-populated emails that are all laid out that you just fill in. Educational series. This is one I'm going to sort of step you through here in a minute, and we'll see what it actually looks like. And then, is this, no, this one? This is a birthday. The birthday campaign. This is the lowest level funnel there is. How many people get an email or some sort of outreach at some point from some sort of furry boot company in their life every year? Okay, you're all in somebody's funnel. It's the one day that you can't get in trouble for pinging somebody with an email, and it's super low level. So if you have access to that information, it could be something you could use, and that essentially is an email automation campaign. All right? So, oh, that's for the last. Okay, let's jump into Mailchimp real quick, and we'll just sort of see. Mailchimp.com. Look at that, marketing automation. I'm going to log in. Give you all my password. All right. So let's go to never. So let's go to campaigns. Okay, let's create a campaign. I'm going to search for automation. It already recognized it. 19 results for aught. Okay, so let's go down here and let's see. So look at all these options. Welcoming new subscribers, enabling order notifications, educational series. Let's click here. All right, educational series. I set this up just, I'm the only person in it. So I'm going to name it Educational Series Test, Aru, and we're going to begin. Okay, so here we go. This is already set up with just 3 emails. And if you look at it, you have these different options. You've got schedule every day, all day. You can edit, and you can say, I want this to be sent, let's have this sent on the nearest Monday. Okay? And then as soon as possible on the next Monday. Right? Or, you know what? We might boost more days during the week. So I'm going to say any day of the week, as long as it's as soon as possible. Okay, we're going to save. We're going to save. Okay, now let's go back. Segment. So here's what we were talking about before. Choose segment conditions. Okay, subscriber is a member of a saved segment. This is what we were talking about here. So subscribers match the following. Contacts match any or all. And let's see, look at the options here. Automation activity, campaign activity, contact rating, conversational activity, date added, email, info changed, language section, So let's say that based on their campaign activity, if they've opened an email any of the last 5 campaigns, they'll automatically be added to this. You've got all these different options here, right? I can say specifically if they replied to a social share campaign that we had over here. Let's add another one. Let's say that an automation activity. Let's say that if they completed a workflow, and I don't have one that's an example there. Okay, but do you see how you can add these parameters to protect yourself or so that the right people go to the right place? So we're going to save the segment. Then we're going to design an email. And what's cool about Mailchimp is that Testaru, preview text, this comes right under the subject line. Hi, Office of Vice Provost. Okay, let's go next. And then I get to choose one of these cool templates. Let's do this one because it looks like one of the summer session ones. They've got all kinds of fun stuff going on. So then you're in here, and now you can build your email. Share your big news, add a photo. Here's all the disclaimer stuff that's added. Save and continue. And you would do that from, and look at this, trigger day 1 after. We heard from summer session you can't email them all day, every day. So we're going to say 14 days. And we're going to update the trigger. So they're going to get this email as soon as it happens, Monday through Sunday, once it's identified that they're in there, as well as it meeting the conditions that they also responded to this last email or this last campaign. 14 days after, they're going to get started number 1. And then let's say another, we're going to get crazy here, and we're going to say 13 days just to throw them off their guard. They're not going to think it's automated. And then we're going to add another email just for fun, and then we're going to go next. And before you send, please resolve the issue. Welcome to my list. These are different triggers, but based on triggers that I would probably have to set up. So that's just blasting through, but do you see how you can kind of click and play? Now, can you create a 3-email educational campaign? Yeah. First one is about the program, hi, nice to meet you. Second one is about the dates and the qualifications. Third one is some sort of a come and, I'd like to just meet with you, or we have these people available, pick and choose, watch this video, right? And again, it can start now, essentially. Let's see, where did I present? Okay, we're right on time. Here is also something that I received in the feedback. Who wants to read this out loud? Who's a good reader? I just want to hear it out loud. Ruth, you're good at reading.
We just
Done. Done. Now, I'm not trying to make fun of you if you're the person that did this, but I kind of am playing fun. Because as soon as you pass off this whole responsibility to a student, you've lost control of the puppet strings. Now, students are great at following direction, but you have to reverse engineer what are your program goals. If you're sitting with them and you're telling them, this is what I want, and you're doing the mind map and whatnot, and then they help develop it, and then they help do the stuff behind the scenes, that's fine. But students aren't the right people to handle your entire marketing aspects. That's what you guys are for, or that's what we're here to help you with. So I just want to make sure that you don't find yourself in a spot going, oh, I hired somebody, they're on social media, millennial, hello. Millennial. Present party excluded, of course, right? You're probably Gen Z or Y or Q. You're not a millennial, are you? You are? Okay. Are you for hire? You can handle it all, right? Now she can. Okay. So again, this is some of the challenge that you're going to run into is if you hire a student, you have them put it together, and then it doesn't work, and then you wonder why it doesn't work. And the answer is because social media is not a solution. It's just a tool. And if automation, email, and funnel campaigns was all that you needed, summer session would be a very happy crew. But they are boothing. They are putting on summer series. They are out there in the streets. They are putting on presentations with professors. They are creating strategic partnerships. They're doing all these other things. So if you look at this as just one tool in the toolbox that helps you get to your solution, then essentially you are going to be in a better spot than you were if you didn't try it in the first place. Okay? So final questions. We're right on time. We've got a couple minutes. If anybody else has any commentary. Yes?
So can this be used with, let's say, something like Canvas or learning management, whereby if, say, for instance, someone has, so, we have a series of drafting and you submit, and if you hit the deadline, you could get a thank you email. If you miss the deadline, you get a reminder email. Is this something that...
There are API integrations with Mailchimp that can get crazy. There might be other aftermarket stuff like ActiveCampaign or some other elements.
Is this something that you could put in the Excel doc where it's a Y or an in?
So so a workaround might be if you know certain dates, right? Yeah. Or as an extreme example, when somebody submits it, they maybe update their contact profile to say, I've done that. And I'm not sure if that can actually work. But if it's something date specific, like if you haven't received something by a certain date, you could probably tag them or figure out how to let Mailchimp know.
But something in like the Excel doc is
You might be able to.
I'll tell you right now, the Canvas team, if you want to add any integration to Canvas, it has to go through the IC3 committee. That includes security, privacy, like it's a big process and they will not do it.
So you might want to try another option, in other words.
Not with Canvas, yeah.
But congratulations, since you're the only person that got a question, you get the coveted fanny pack. See what happens when you participate? Comes in very handy, literally, right? Okay, everybody, I had fun. Hopefully you did too, because funnels can be fun even if there's not funnel cake. Think of it as a way to build trust. Try to realize that it doesn't have to be perfect. Reverse engineer what your goals are and find out the value that you can provide. And if I can be of any other assistance, you've got my card, you've got a free pen. You can have the free pen if you want. You can leave it if you want. You can leave my card if you want. But what you need to do is consider thinking about how you're going to take the next step to the top of the funnel. All right, thank you.